It's officially time to answer all of your burning questions on getting the girls done. I have all of your questions saved right here. Before we get into it, quick disclaimer, I am in no way, shape, or form a doctor. I am not providing medical advice. This is just me sharing my experience because I watched so many videos of different girls who had gotten breast augmentations because they were so helpful to me just to see other people's experience, being able to chat with some other girls on their experience with their breast augmentation. So I really wanted to share my journey with you. I also feel like it's so important being on social media to transparently share any work that you've gotten done because I wouldn't want anyone comparing themselves to me when mine are fake. With that in mind, let's get into the video. I feel like first things first, we have to start with why I got a breast augmentation, and I'm gonna be so real with you guys. I knew I was getting this since I was 16 years old. It really wasn't so much a matter of if I would get it so much as when I would get it. Genuinely, I told my mom at the ripe age of 16 that eventually I would be able to just buy myself boobs because I realized the boob fairy was never coming for me. I will say it was really important to me personally to get into a mindset of feeling comfortable in the body that I had before getting a breast augmentation. So for years and years, I was definitely stuck in the Victoria's Secret bombshell push-up bra. I would not take it off. I felt really uncomfortable in my own body. It was really important to me to be able to do this from a place of love and respect for my body and not just feeling insecure in what I had. Obviously, everyone's gonna have their own opinions on that. People are gonna think whatever they want. It really doesn't matter. I feel like it's most important to understand how you feel about it. So eventually I got myself off of the 24/7 push-up bra train. I feel like the turning point for me was really my wedding because I knew I would want to get them done and I wanted to get them done before we got married. That may seem silly, but when we're talking about my wedding photos, like those are something I want hanging in my home. And I feel like it would just be a dead giveaway if someone walked into my home and saw me flat-chested in my wedding photos while they look like this now. I just really didn't want that, to be fully transparent with you. So I feel like that was more of the turning point, on top of the fact that I had already spent several years not wearing push-up bras at this point, and it was still something that I really wanted to do. Let's chat the decision process. After I decided I wanted to get the girls done, I definitely started researching surgeons. I used a website called The Real Self. I'll give you an example of what that looks like here, and then I'll give you a link in the description box. A lot of women share reviews of doctors, their experience with breast augmentation in general, and they track their story through time, which I found really helpful in deciding what doctor I would feel most comfortable with. On top of that, I used social media. I watched videos like this one. Girl, I was digging in. I needed to know everything there was to know on the internet about this. I swear, if there's a video on breast augmentation, I've watched it. I ended up going with Dr. Barrett in Beverly Hills. I actually have some friends that have gone to him, and I just felt really comfortable with him as a doctor. And by far, he had genuinely the best reviews on Real Self, so I felt pretty comfortable going in. I also went to the consultation. A lot of questions on breast implant illness, and if my doctor talked to me about it at all, yes, he did. It was in like all of the disclaimer forms, even though it is not recognized. So that will probably vary doctor to doctor on whether they recognize breast implant illness or not. I do think most of the implant waivers are going to have something about that in there, and it is important to note, like, this is an implant going into your body, so anyone's body could react negatively, or you could have an issue with silicone in general. There's always some degree of risk. It's just determining what risk is okay with you. I do feel like I was pretty reassured by the fact that most people who experience any kind of issues with their breast implants seem to have a good recovery once they're removed. Obviously, removing them is another surgery, but at the end of the day, breast implants aren't forever, so you're gonna have to have another one if you get them done in the first place. I do think that I would have been a lot less comfortable with my doctor if he was just like, no, that's not real. I definitely looked through PubMed articles. I listen to podcasts, I check the breast implant illness website. How you do your research is entirely up to you. How do you pick your size and implant type? So my surgeon had me bring in full photos of what I wanted to look like. Mostly browsing through his website and his Instagram is honestly where I got a lot of my inspo, because I obviously liked a lot of his results, or I wouldn't have gone for him as a surgeon in the first place. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing with my hands.
I'm not sure what to do with my hands.
If I don't move them, it feels so awkward, so uncomfortable. Choosing your size and implant type, I really wanted something that looked more natural, that felt like it was proportionate to my body. I didn't want anything huge. I just wanted something there to kind of fill out clothes, not feel like I was like gaping in a bikini top or a regular bra. So that's really how I ended up picking my sizing. And then your doctor should ideally measure you so that they can determine how best to get to that goal photo. While I had kind of idea of a number that I was not going to go over when it comes to CCs, I really did leave it up to my doctor in matching those goal photos. I know that can be uncomfortable. Before I went into surgery, I pretty much let my surgeon know that I would be a lot more upset if I felt like they came out too big than if they came out too small, because obviously I was coming from literally nothing. So to me, anything was gonna feel bigger, right? So that's kind of what I said right before I headed into surgery, and that did end up with them adjusting them a little bit smaller, and I am very grateful because I feel like they came out the perfect size for me. All right, it's time for all the dirty details. I did under the muscle. I actually chose this, one, based on my doctor's advice, and two, another thing that I had found while researching is that your risk of capsular contracture goes down when the implant is placed under the muscle. So for me, I wanted to mitigate risks as much as I could, and so that was a pretty significant reason for me to suffer through a worse recovery. It's also supposed to look a little bit more natural, and I just felt like that was worth it. Like, at the end of the day, these are intended to last you about 10 years. So for me, I was willing to suffer through a little bit worse of a recovery to have better results long term. Sizing and implant type, I have Sientra Smooth Round Moderate. I have 250 cc's on the right and 270 cc's on the left, just to kind of correct a little bit of imbalance. All of the implant manufacturers should publish some degree of studies on different risks like capsular contracture, how often they're removed, those types of things. So definitely look into that before choosing your implants. Definitely the most asked question is cost. I know we're all nosy. It varies so significantly from surgeon to surgeon, and even within the surgeons, those prices can still vary, like very significantly, depending on what you want done and if there's any kind of revisions or complications or anything like that. The lowest quote that I got was $7,000, which to me in Los Angeles was definitely more on the budget end of things. And then the highest quotes that I've seen were $20,000. I ended somewhere in the middle, which I felt very comfortable with. To me, this really wasn't a situation where I was like, we're going budget. This is not something that I feel like you choose a budget, you choose experience. And if it's not in the budget yet, I would have genuinely just waited. All right, surgery and recovery. This is definitely what you guys had the most questions about, which I totally understand. I feel like there's a lot of variance on the other topics, and same with this, but for me personally, the recovery process was definitely what I was most concerned about, like 110%. Will say what I thought would be the worst and what I thought would be the easiest ended up being just wrong. Like, I was definitely worried about pain post-surgery. I didn't have any significant amount of pain from the surgery itself. I had pain from my stomach from all of the medications I was taking. I had back pain from sleeping upright, but honestly, like, the girls, they were numb for days. All I took was Tylenol and didn't take any of my pain pills. Although I had them as an option, I did take some of the nausea medicine, and obviously I took like all my antibiotics and the things that I had to take. But as far as pain medication, I really didn't need any. What are some of the post-op tips that I found most helpful? Honestly, the girls that told me to get a heating pad, I owe them my life. Like, the back pain of sleeping straight straight up and down for days. So uncomfortable. And I usually sleep on my side or on my stomach. So that's how I'm used to sleeping. So what would happen is I would like roll my neck, then I ended up with neck pain. Then I made it so much worse. I was waking up in the middle of the night sobbing because of how bad my neck or back would be hurting. And once I was able to lay on my back, and then at 2 weeks I could lay on my side, oh my God, night and day difference. Like it made my life so much better when I got to go back to sleeping on my side. Aftercare is going to vary surgeon to surgeon. So your surgeon may not recommend sleeping on your side at 2 weeks. It really does depend on the surgeon. So that's something to keep in mind. You could definitely ask them a little bit more about their aftercare instructions if that's something you're concerned about while you're there for your consultation. Do you notice any differences in your daily life, like sleeping, putting on outfits, wearing different things? Well, first of all, I feel like I have a brand new wardrobe. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Every top I put on feels completely different. Because I didn't go crazy on the sizing, all of my tops fit. They just look, in my mind, better. I did get a couple of bigger sports bras for right after because I didn't want anything too restrictive. My surgeon did not recommend using compression bras or anything along those lines, so I wasn't supposed to wear anything for 2 weeks, which I'm not gonna lie to you, that was not comfortable. They feel like rocks on your chest. Like, they initially feel really heavy. Now I don't really notice them as much, and I'm only at a little over 5 weeks, so that's something to keep in mind. I'll definitely update you maybe around like the 6-month mark. So we'll see how they feel then. I definitely still have some tenderness, but nothing too crazy. And for the most part, I'm like pretty back to normal. I can move my arms around, do all of that. Did you experience any bruising? And if so, for how long? I had like pretty minimal bruising, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe light bruising that was there for a week or two, but nothing crazy. I wasn't like looking super scary. Honestly, I was shocked at how quickly they looked normal. I don't know if that's typical. A lot of what I read online says that it's not. Like, a lot of people basically say they look like aliens. They're definitely getting more and more natural looking every day because I am still in the kind of recovery phase and they're still in the like drop and fluff period. We'll see how they look at 4 to 6 months, which is when I am expecting to see closer to my final results. Did it hurt, and do you have scars? I currently have scars because I am only 5 weeks post-op, so I definitely have scars. My surgeon had a lot of recommendations for reducing scars, so that is something that I'm obviously actively working on. I'm using the Skinuva Scar Gel, and then I also have silicone scar sheets, which are supposed to help, and I think both of those are, you use it for like 6-ish months. So hopefully when I do like a 6-month update, I'll have a little bit more to chat with you about that. As far as pain goes, honestly, the incisions didn't really hurt that much. I've had the silicone sheets on them since I had the surgery, and I don't feel like I've ever had any crazy pain or discomfort in that area. I would just say mostly it's sensitive, and like hypersensitivity has been an issue for me. Some people end up numb for a longer period of time. I went straight to hypersensitivity, which is not very fun, but overall it's more uncomfortable than painful. When could you raise your hands above your head? So I asked about being allowed to do this, or if there was like any mobility exercises I should be doing at my 2-week post-op, and they basically told me to still like limit it. It was enough to be able to wash my hair, but not to be like stretching my arms right over my head right away. I really wasn't doing much of that until like 3 weeks, and I would say I'm still relatively limited, only out of my own caution, not necessarily because anyone told me I couldn't. I just don't really want to press my body more than I need to. How long did it take to feel normal again? I feel like this is a really tough one because I got my surgery December 27th and I live in Los Angeles. Just before I hit 2 weeks is when the LA wildfires started, so my life was kind of in shambles. I didn't start feeling like things were normal until recently, but I was also plucked from my routine because we evacuated to Santa Barbara. I was able to start like going on walks at 2 weeks, and that really made a big difference in me just mentally feeling a lot better, because the first few days were pretty tough mentally. Not really, I mean, also physically not terrible, but it was really tough mentally, like the first couple of days. What was the worst part for me? It was the stomach pain, just because I feel like that's my body's weak spot to start, and that also gives me a lot of anxiety. That was hard for me personally. I don't know that other people would necessarily be faced by that, and just kind of sorting through the initial emotions post-surgery. That is something that they warn you about, that you may be a little bit more emotional, you may have anxiety or depression post-anesthesia. Just something to be aware of, because it definitely was a little bit harder the first few days, and then I started feeling better and things got a lot better. But initially it was pretty hard. There were many tears, I'm not gonna lie. The things people don't talk about. One, I feel like the anxiety and feelings post-surgery, and two, having to have someone take care of you. I'm not joking, you really need someone to take care of you. There is no way I would have survived the first several days without Adam, my fiance, being home taking care of me. And honestly, he was home with me for the first 10 days, and I feel like it just made my recovery process so much better. I fully understand if that's not an option, but like if you can go stay with a family member, a close friend, a partner, like anything for the first week or two, it will make a world of difference. It was a lot, and it would have been way too much, in my opinion, to do on my own. There's also just a lot of things that you can't do. I couldn't really wash my own hair for the first 2 weeks. I went to like Dry Bar and just went out to get my hair done. I love my fiance. There's no way he could have done my hair. Respectfully, that's just not his rodeo. He was really good at like making all of my meals and taking care of everything. Even just things like lifting up your favorite pots and pans. If they're heavier, you may not be able to do that, and you're not, or at least I'm not, allowed to lift over 8 pounds for the first 6 weeks. Even getting groceries delivered, if they don't deliver it to my door, it's up and down the stairs 100 times, because I can only carry a couple things at a time. So that's just something to consider. I really don't know how people end up doing it alone. If they just meal prepped everything beforehand, I have no idea. But I do personally really recommend having somebody there to help you, because there is a lot that you're probably gonna need help with. Did you have any regrets or second thoughts? Well, let me tell you, I absolutely love my results. I'm super happy with them. I don't have any regrets right now. The first 3 days, two days, I was super emotional, and I was like, oh my God, what did you do? You are the dumbest girl alive. And after I got through like day 3, I started feeling a lot better. I really just think that that was the emotional side effect of anesthesia. But I want to be real with you. Initially I was like, this was the worst decision you've ever made. So if you are in recovery and you feel that way, please know you're not alone. I am still extremely happy with my results, and I honestly would do it again, but that initial couple of days was really hard. Aftercare and maintenance. Honestly, aftercare isn't that bad. If you are suggested to wear a surgical bra for whatever reason by your doctor, I would definitely do that. Important for the healing process just to follow all of their instructions. As far as scar management, I mentioned a little bit earlier that I do have to wear silicone scar sheets and use some kind of scar gel to try to reduce those as much as possible. It is possible that you still end up with some degree of scarring, so that's important to note. It may not be invisible. You may be able to reduce it as much as you can. It's kind of just your body doing its thing, and so you don't really know entirely how that's going to turn out. How often do you need to get checkups? I don't think anyone actually mentioned this in any of the videos that I watched, but I do think that this is really important. You do have to get checkups to ensure that there is no silent rupture in your implants. So if you have saline implants and they rupture, it's likely that you're gonna notice, because the saline is gonna leak out, and that's like your boob's gonna deflate basically. But with silicone, you can have a silent rupture, which you don't necessarily know about, especially in the gummy bear implants, because the silicone gel inside is cohesive. So like when you cut up in a gummy bear, it's not gonna spill out, but that's still there. So you do have to get MRIs or an ultrasound, I believe after 4 to 5 years, and then every 2 to 3 years from from that point forward. Sorry, I just checked my notes. It's an MRI or ultrasound after the first 5 or 6 years, and then an ultrasound or MRI every 2 to 3 years after that. So all of that is just to ensure that your implants are still safe, healthy, etc., so that you can get them replaced if you need to. And then of course, if you have any signs of like capsular contracture, any other signs of complications, you would need to see your surgeon so that they can assess you and determine if you need maybe a revision surgery or a replacement, anything like that. On to your more personal questions. What advice would you give to someone considering a breast augmentation? Honestly, I feel like my biggest advice is to really sit with yourself, maybe journal about it, and take the time to think about if it's something that you really want and that it's not because you feel pressured or you feel like you aren't pretty enough the way that you are. It needs to be for you, I think, for it to feel really good. Other than that, definitely do your research. I think it's really important to be well informed about the side effects and possible risks and complications. As with any type of surgery that you may have, you're gonna have some degree of risk and side effects. There's risk and side effects of getting into a car, breathing the air outside. Pretty much everything you do on a day-to-day basis has a risk, so just making sure that you're well informed and know what you're getting yourself into, I think, is really important. What was my cup and band size before and after? I was probably a 32A before, and now I'd say I'm like a 32C. 2 cup sizes for me, which I feel like is pretty good. I think that they technically say that 300 cc's is the equivalent to going up a cup size. Personally, because I'm starting with nothing and I'm pretty small around, I feel like it probably varies just based on your size and personal measurements. Did it change how you feel about your body? I mean, yes. I feel like I was pretty confident and comfortable with my body before, but I am literally obsessed. I knew it would make a difference, but I didn't know it would make as big of a difference as it did. So I would definitely say I feel a lot more confident and just like happy that I made the decision in the first place. Do people treat you differently? Maybe too soon to tell. I feel like I've really only had a couple of friends see them. For the first time in my life, people have been looking at my boobs, which has obviously never happened to me before because I had nothing. So I feel like that's just like funny and a little bit weird. But yeah, overall, I would say nobody currently, I feel like, is treating me any differently. Final thoughts and any advice I might have. I would say my biggest piece of advice for anyone considering getting a breast augmentation is do your research and make sure that you are confident that you want this. It is something that you could change and go back. Like if you ended up hating it for whatever reason, you can obviously get them taken out, but you are still likely to have some degree of scarring or changes in how you look afterwards. So that's just something to consider. I don't think that I'll have my implants forever. Obviously, I'm gonna get them replaced when the time comes, but I think I will hit a certain age where I'll just be ready to take them out because I don't want to be too old getting elective surgeries because I just think that that's a degree of risk I don't personally want, but to each their own. Would you do it again? And is there anything you'd do differently? Honestly, no, I wouldn't do anything differently and I would definitely do it again. I love my results. I've been really happy with them. I feel like my experience with Dr. Barrett and my surgical team has been absolutely wonderful. They've been really helpful, even with the wildfires when I was supposed to have my appointment and we ended up evacuating. The team was super helpful. They ended up accommodating and getting me in a day early so that I wouldn't miss my 2-week appointment because I was having my sutures removed, and so it was really important that I didn't miss that appointment, and they were able to like squeeze me in and take care of it so that we could leave the city. I just had a really great experience. I feel like I was very well taken care of and continue to be well taken care of. I still have 2 more follow-up appointments with the team. Honestly though, I still feel kind of shocked every time I see them, especially because I'm a content creator and I take so many photos. I went out and recreated a photo I had taken before, and the shock on my face looking at these photos. Sometimes it's weird because I feel like since I'm so not used to having any amount of cleavage at all, like I see a photo and I'm like, ooh, that feels like a lot. Maybe tone it down, pull it back a little. So I feel like I'm still a little bit in the adjustment period with that, but overall I just love them. I'm so happy that I did it, and yeah. I hope that answered all of your questions. If you still have any other questions, go ahead and send me a DM on Instagram, or if you're just considering getting the girls done yourself and you need somebody to chat with about it, let me know. I'm more than happy to answer any and all of your questions. I know it can be really nerve-wracking, especially if you don't have any support or people to talk to that have been there and already gone through it themselves. So feel free to send me a DM on Instagram. I am happy to help. And of course, if you found this video helpful, I would love it if you hit the like button and subscribe, because we are always here to give the girls the tea, and I will see you in the next one.